Picture this. It is 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. You are a compliance officer at a mid-sized bank.
Oh, the classic nightmare scenario.
Right. The house is completely quiet, you're fast asleep,
Uh,
and suddenly your phone vibrates on the nightstand.
Never a good sign at 2 a.m.
Never. So it's the Chief Information Security Officer, and they tell you that the regulator just announced an unscheduled surprise inspection.
Wow.
Yeah, they are going to be in your building at 9 a.m. sharp. And they want evidence of compliance against 22 different control areas.
And let me guess, they want it mapped across multiple frameworks.
Exactly. They want it mapped across ISO 27001, SOC2, and your local cyber framework. And you have exactly 7 hours. So what do you do?
I mean, if you're operating like almost any organization right now, you panic, pure and simple.
Yeah.
You wake up your entire team, you brew a massive pot of coffee, log into half a dozen different shared drives, and you just start frantically hunting.
Right. You're digging through subfolders looking for screenshots that a junior IT guy took 6 months ago.
Praying they're still valid.
Exactly. Praying they actually prove what you think they prove.
Yeah.
You're essentially having a caffeinated existential crisis while the sun comes up.
It's brutal.
And the crazy thing is, for most businesses, this isn't some rare apocalyptic scenario. I mean, this is just Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because right now, compliance is still essentially a chaotic spreadsheet sport.
I absolutely is a spreadsheet sport. And, it's getting exponentially harder to play because the sheer volume of rules is just multiplying every year.
Oh, yeah.
And they frequently conflict with each other, which just adds to the mess.
Exactly. Which is what we are digging into today. We are taking a deep dive into an internal breakdown of the autoResilience Insights module.
Specifically looking at how they are automating compliance management.
Right. Our mission today is to figure out if autoResilience AI is actually the silver bullet to solve this exact real-world 2 a.m. panic,
Or if it's just another layer of shiny tech chaos.
Right, being piled onto an already broken system. Okay, let's unpack this.
I think to really understand if it's a silver bullet, we have to look at how a company traditionally begins its compliance journey versus the environment they step into with this system.
Makes sense.
Traditionally, you get a massive PDF from a regulator. You have your team read it, interpret all the dense legal jargon, and, try to build a spreadsheet out of it.
Which takes weeks.
At least. But with autoResilience on day one, you get a pre-populated regulatory library.
Hold on, though. If I'm a business adopting this platform, haven't I just spent a massive chunk of my budget on a slightly prettier digital Dropbox?
Well,
Because, if I'm just dragging and dropping my messy spreadsheets and random PDFs into a new web interface, that doesn't actually solve my 2 a.m. panic.
right.
I'm still the one hunting for documents. I'm just doing it in a nicer font,
What's fascinating here is that it's not a filing cabinet at all. It is a structured, machine-readable intelligence engine.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
So it comes shipped with the full text of dozens of frameworks, but the AI has already digested and mapped them. Let's take ISO 27001 as a specific example.
A fun read.
Oh, highly recommended for insomnia. If you sit down and read that standard cover to cover, you're looking at about 100 pages.
Yeah.
And there are around 93 controls just in Annex A alone.
100 pages of just dense regulatory jargon.
Exactly. Normally, a human has to read that, interpret the nuance, and manually create a checklist.
Right.
But autoResilience has already parsed every single one of those controls into discrete, machine-readable requirements. So instead of a static PDF, you have a living database.
Oh, wow.
For every single requirement, the system instantly gives you its source, the underlying intent of the rule, the recommended controls to satisfy it, and
Wait, it gives you the recommended control.
yes, and the exact type of evidence you typically need to prove it works.
So you aren't starting from a blank canvas at all. You aren't sitting there trying to figure out how, say, the SEC's 7-year financial data retention rule plays nicely with GDPR's strict right to be forgotten mandate.
No, because the system already knows the intent behind these rules. Out of the box, it understands major frameworks like ISO, SOC2, IPA, and regional ones.
That's huge.
But the real magic is the network effect.
How so?
Let's say a customer brings in a super niche national cybersecurity guideline that isn't in the system yet.
Yeah.
The moment that gets onboarded and parsed into the library, every subsequent customer benefits from that structural mapping. It is a constantly compounding repository of regulatory intelligence.
So if that library is already structured and your existing evidence is already mapped directly to those controls inside the engine,
Yeah.
then that 7-hour scramble at 2 a.m. isn't a scramble at all. You just query the current state of the controls and export the report.
Right. You're moving from a frantic search mission to simply presenting the facts as they already exist in a structured system.
Okay, having a massive library of rules is great, but regulations don't sleep.
They really don't.
New ones drop constantly. And it feels like the real headache isn't just storing the requirements, it's managing the overlap.
Absolutely.
Because if my team has to build a completely separate, isolated compliance program for every single new acronym a regulator invents, we are going to burn out in a month.
It's completely unsustainable.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It feels to me like packing for 3 different vacations all at once.
Okay, I like this analogy. Let's explore that.
Say you're going on a ski trip, a beach trip, and a hiking trip.
Sounds like a busy month.
Very.
Mm.
Now, if you pack for them completely separately in 3 different suitcases, you are going to be carrying a massive amount of unnecessary luggage.
Right, lots of redundancy.
But you don't need 3 separate sets of underwear, right? You only need 1 toothbrush. You just have to map the common underlying essentials across all 3 itineraries so you aren't duplicating your effort.
That is exactly how it works. In the compliance industry, that concept of finding the overlaps is called control rationalization.
Control rationalization.
Okay. The philosophy is comply once, satisfy many. Historically, finding that overlap, figuring out which toothbrush works for which trip, was an incredibly tedious manual process,
I can imagine.
done by highly paid consultants reading spreadsheets side by side. But here, the AI handles the suggested mappings automatically through semantic analysis.
Wait, how does that actually work under the hood? Like, how does the AI know my controls overlap?
It looks at the fundamental intent.
Yeah.
Let's use a real-world scenario from the source material. Imagine a customer who is already fully compliant with ISO 27001 and SOC 2.
Okay, so they've got a solid baseline.
Exactly. They've done the hard work, their controls are active. Now they need to onboard a strict new regional regulation. Let's say the UAE's CBUA cyber risk regulation.
Right.
Instead of handing the team a massive list of new tasks, the AI scans their existing environment.
It looks at the vacations they've already packed for.
Right. It sees that the company already has robust access management controls running for their ISO program. The AI analyzes the deep intent of those existing controls.
Meaning what exactly?
Things like password complexity, multi-factor authentication, session timeouts. And it realizes that those exact mechanisms already satisfy roughly 60% of the new CBUAE access management requirements.
Wow.
So it proactively suggests reusing those existing controls.
So it literally prompts the team and says, hey, I see you need to satisfy these 30 new requirements. You just use these 18 controls you already built last year.
Exactly. It basically says you only need to write 12 brand new controls to cover the unique gaps. The customer doesn't reinvent the wheel.
That's wild.
According to the data, customers reduce the effort required to onboard a brand new framework by 60 to 70%, purely through this automated cross-mapping.
A 70% reduction in onboarding effort is massive.
Yeah.
That is the difference between having to hire a whole new compliance wing and just letting your current team leave work at 5 p.m.
It's a game changer for retention alone.
But, okay, let's play devil's advocate for a second. So the AI knows we have the right locks on the doors, and it knows which locks satisfy which regulations.
Yes.
But knowing a lock exists and proving to an auditor that the lock is actually turned are 2 very different things.
Oh, completely.
How do we prove these controls actually work in the wild?
You're hitting on the real bottleneck of the whole industry right there. Control testing is universally acknowledged as the most exhausting part of the job.
Because it's endless.
It's an endless cycle. An auditor says, prove this control works. The tester emails the IT owner. The IT owner ignores the email.
Classic.
3 days later, they reply with a messy screenshot. The tester manually reviews it, decides if it's good enough, writes up a working paper, and files it.
And you multiply that by hundreds of controls.
Hundreds of controls 4 times a year. It's soul-crushing.
Okay, but let me push back here because this is where things get really risky in my mind. Having an AI map text documents together based on intent is one thing. But if we are talking about an AI actually evaluating unstructured, messy evidence and deciding if a security control is effective.
You're worried about hallucinations?
Yes. What about hallucinations? If the AI auto-approves a weak piece of evidence and an external human auditor catches that false positive later,
Yeah.
my company's credibility is vaporized. The regulator will never trust a single thing I hand them again.
That is the exact right fear to have. You absolutely cannot afford a hallucination in compliance.
Right.
That is why the AI evaluation engine is built differently than standard text generators and relies on what they call conservative calibration.
Conservative calibration, meaning it plays it safe.
Extremely safe. The AI is designed to do the first pass review, essentially acting as a highly meticulous junior auditor.
Okay.
It looks at the evidence and asks, is this the correct type? Is it from the right time frame? Does it demonstrate the control operating without anomalies?
But how does it actually read the evidence? Because evidence isn't always neat little data rows in a CSV file.
Very rarely, actually.
Right. Sometimes it's a messy screenshot of a server configuration window or a 50-page PDF with weird formatting. Standard OCR optical character recognition just reads text left to right.
Right, it doesn't understand context at all.
Exactly. So how does this AI avoid getting confused?
That's the key difference. AutoResilience uses contextual vision and language models that are specifically trained on compliance environments.
Okay.
When it looks at a Macy's server screenshot, it doesn't just scrape the text. The vision model understands the spatial layout of the image.
Oh, so it knows what it's looking at structurally.
Exactly. It locates the timestamp in the bottom right corner of the taskbar. It cross-references that timestamp with the system clock in the application window to ensure the screenshot is recent.
Wow.
Then it scans the active window to find the specific administrator user ID, and then it verifies that ID matches the approved access policy.
So it acts exactly like a human auditor tracing a thread of logic.
Step by step.
Okay, that is impressive. But you mentioned conservative calibration earlier. Wait, hold on. If the AI is calibrated to be ultra-conservative and flags anything it's even slightly unsure about as needs human review,
Which it does.
aren't we just replacing the 2 a.m. spreadsheet panic with a 2 a.m. AI false alarm panic? How does a dashboard full of yellow warning tags actually save my team anytime?
Because the nature of the work changes entirely. The cost of a false positive in compliance, meaning the AI flags something as potentially broken when it's actually fine, is just a few minutes of human triage.
Okay.
The AI doesn't just say, I don't know. It highlights exactly why it's unsure. It says the timestamp is obscured or this user ID isn't in the primary database.
Oh, I see.
A human looks at that specific highlight, applies common sense, and clicks approve. That takes 3 minutes. Compare that to a false negative, where the AI confidently approves weak evidence leading to a failed audit and shattered credibility. Ah, okay. So the system's core design philosophy is optimize for absolute trust. If in doubt, tag the evidence is insufficient and escalate to a human.
Right. It produces a clear assessment. Effective, partially effective, ineffective, or evidence insufficient. And it provides its mathematical reasoning.
That transparency is crucial.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the AI is acting as a force multiplier, not a blind replacement. It takes away 80% of the heavy cognitive lifting, the endless searching, the cross-referencing, so the human officer can just focus on the edge cases.
So it cures auditor burnout without sacrificing an ounce of accuracy.
Precisely.
That makes total sense. Reviewing a flag item with the context already provided is completely different from starting a hunt from scratch.
Day and night difference.
Okay, so the AI does the heavy lifting for the testing.
Yeah.
But regulations are evolving. Regulators don't just want a nice, neat binder of screenshots once a year anymore, do they?
No, the era of point-in-time compliance is completely dead.
I knew it. Regulators don't care if you had perfect security posture on December 31st of last year. They want to know if you are secure and compliant right now, today.
Right, because doing a point-in-time audit is basically like passing an annual house inspection. You check the wiring, the inspector signs the clipboard, and then you just cross your fingers and hope nothing catches fire for the next 364 days.
Maybe.
You have no real visibility, whereas continuous compliance is like installing a smoke detector that's running 24/7.
That is a perfect way to look at it. And you cannot run a smoke detector off a 6-month-old screenshot sitting in a SharePoint folder.
No, definitely not.
To achieve true continuous monitoring, the platform abandons manual evidence gathering wherever possible and integrates directly via APIs into the systems where your controls actually operate.
What kind of plumbing are we talking about here? Give me an example of how that works in practice.
So it plugs directly into your infrastructure. It hooks into Active Directory to monitor access rights. It connects to your security information and event management system for threat monitoring. It plugs into ServiceNow for change management tickets and your HR systems for employee onboarding and offboarding. It pulls this data automatically and continuously.
So it's just quietly watching the underlying nervous system of the whole company.
Yes. Let's say an employee leaves the company on a Tuesday. HR updates the system, but someone in IT forgets to revoke their access to a critical AWS server in ServiceNow.
Which happens all the time.
All the time. The AI sees that discrepancy instantly through the API. It recognizes that an offboarded user still has privileged access, which violates your policy threshold.
Right.
The platform instantly raises a real-time alert. You aren't waiting for a quarterly audit to realize you have a glaring vulnerability.
The control owner's dashboard flashes red immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing it back to that cross-mapping magic we talked about earlier.
Exactly. If that access management control drifts out of compliance, the platform doesn't just tell you that you have an IT ticketing problem.
Yep.
It tells you that this specific failure has simultaneously impacted your ISO 27001 compliance, your SOC2 posture, and your regional framework compliance.
Because in a traditional organization, that one failure might eventually get caught, but it would have to be reported separately 3 different times to 3 different siloed teams managing those frameworks.
And they might all try to fix it separately.
Often without even realizing it's the exact same underlying issue.
Exactly. But with autoResilience, because the controls are rationalized and mapped across all frameworks by the AI, you revoke that user's access once, and you instantly heal your compliance posture across every single framework simultaneously.
That is brilliant. Okay, we've solved the 2 a.m. operational nightmare. We've got automated cross-mapping, contextual vision models doing the testing, and continuous API monitoring.
The Holy Trinity.
Right. But let's take a step back and look at the business reality. So what does this all mean for the poor compliance officer trying to get budget?
The hardest part of the job.
Because executives usually view compliance as a giant tax. It's a necessary evil that doesn't generate revenue. How do you actually sell this system to the board?
Historically, you couldn't, because compliance has been a very binary, uninspiring conversation.
Pass or fail.
Exactly. You either pass the audit or you fail. You have the certificate or you don't. But CISOs and chief compliance officers are now facing a much harder question from their boards. Are we doing as well as our competitors?
Oh, wow.
And until now, they had no objective way to answer that because you can't exactly call up a rival bank and ask to see their vulnerability reports.
Right. So how does autoResilience solve that?
It solves it through an incredibly powerful built-in benchmarking engine.
Benchmarking engine. Okay.
The platform continuously generates a dynamic maturity score for every customer across every single framework they've adopted. It doesn't just look at pass-fail.
What does it look at?
It calculates this score based on the actual maturity of the controls, the strength of the evidence that AI has reviewed, the volume of open findings, and the recency of the continuous monitoring data.
Okay, so I get a score of, say, 85 out of 100 on my security posture.
Right. But then the platform takes that score and benchmarks it against fully anonymized averages across their entire global customer base.
Interesting.
And it filters that data intelligently by industry, by geographic region, and by company size.
Oh, I see. So if I'm that mid-sized bank in the Gulf we talked about, I don't just see my score in a vacuum.
No.
I can look at my local compliance score and see exactly how it stacks up against the average maturity of other mid-sized financial institutions operating in my specific region.
Exactly. You never see their private data, of course, but you see the aggregate benchmark, and that completely changes the dynamic in the boardroom.
It really does. Because you aren't just walking in and saying, hey, board, good news. We checked all the boxes and didn't get a massive fine this year.
Which is how those meetings usually go.
Right. Instead, you're walking in with a dashboard saying, we are 85% compliant with our regional frameworks, which empirically puts us in the top quartile of regional financial institutions. We are structurally more secure and mature than our peers.
Precisely. It transforms compliance from a defensive cost center into a strategic offensive narrative.
I love that.
It becomes a competitive advantage. You use that benchmarked data to actively earn the trust of your board, your enterprise partners, and the regulators themselves. It proves that you have a mature, well-oiled machine, not just a frantic team passing around spreadsheets and hoping for the best.
This has been an incredibly eye-opening journey. I mean, we started with a compliance officer sweating through a 2 a.m. crisis, digging through shared drives, and praying a blurry screenshot from last year would hold up under scrutiny.
A dark place to start.
Very. And we've walked through how a purpose-built system with a pre-populated day one library, semantic AI that maps overlapping controls, vision models that can actually read and contextually evaluate evidence, and real-time API monitoring completely flips the script.
It does.
You go from reactive, blind panic to a state of continuous, automated confidence.
It really is the most significant evolution for compliance teams we've seen, moving from siloed, manual, point-in-time work to a continuous, cross-framework, AI-assisted reality where the heavy lifting is done for you.
So to everyone listening right now, if your company's idea of a robust compliance program is still relying on a labyrinth of shared folders, manual screenshots, and Microsoft Outlook calendar reminders,
Please stop doing that.
yes, you seriously need to rethink your strategy. The tools to fix this are out there. In fact, if you want to see exactly how this works, the intelligent library, the vision model testing, the benchmarking dashboards, you can reach out to the autoResilience AI team for a demo. It is well worth your time to see it in action.
It's hard to overstate how much time and sanity this gives back to your team. It allows them to focus on actual security strategy rather than just chasing paperwork.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up today's deep dives, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We spent this entire time talking about how companies are utilizing advanced AI to automatically gather evidence, map controls, and monitor drift in real time.
Right.
But think about the other side of the table for a second. How long is it going to be until the regulators deploy their own advanced AI to conduct the audits?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Right. Are we heading toward a future where compliance is really just two AIs constantly, continuously negotiating with each other in the background, verifying cryptographic proofs in milliseconds, while the human compliance officers and regulators just sit back and watch the scoreboards? Will we even need a 9 a.m. human inspection at all? Something to think about the next time you manage to sleep soundly through the night.